What we're really looking for is looking at what other states have done from all sides of the aisle. It's not just what has California, Oregon done, what's Montana done, what's Texas done, what's Utah done, to really address affordability.
This is Las Vegas Real Estate Now with local real estate expert Harvey Blankfeld.
So the Gwen Center just put out a housing affordability study looking at different ways that the state could potentially tackle housing affordability. Full disclosure, I helped. I was a contributor to that on the economic analysis.
That's why you're here. We love having you here. That's great.
Cheers, thank you. But what we were really looking for is looking at what other states have done from all sides of the aisle. It's not just what has California, Oregon done, what's Montana done, what's Texas done, what's Utah done, to really address affordability. And we put forward a lot of different ideas for the state legislature to consider. These are things like, thinking about removing the single-family zoning, the fact that so many things are zoned for single-family to allow people to build more densely. Allow ADUs, remove parking on new builds, parking requirements. Every unit has to have two. That's a lot of wasted space that could potentially be more units.
And cars aren't going to be as important going into the future, I think. I think it's really true.
And if you're thinking especially like infill development, places that already have pretty good transportation networks, the RTC serves it pretty well. Those are potential ways that you could think about it. Permitting reform, approval by right. So the idea is if your plan for your development basically fits with what the existing zoning code is, you don't have to go before the board and potentially be denied because it doesn't fit with the aesthetic of the neighborhood. Because that's a subjective thing, as opposed to objective. So a good example of what an objective one would be is you have to have a 4-foot setback from the sidewalk. But fitting with the aesthetic of the neighborhood is subjective. And the clearer you make it, the easier it is. We're trying to remove any sort of informational asymmetries to make it easier for people to build housing of all types. And obviously this is very focused on the supply side. Because supply is definitely where we need it.
Absolutely.
But the problem, of course, is supply is long-term. Demand is immediate.
Yeah, it's true. But it's the best answer is the long-term answer. I mean, to me, I've heard talk about rent control, things of that nature. They don't help. They don't work because they backfire on you.
They help one side of the market. That's it.
I mean, we always have to address the elephant in the room, and it's the fact that the feds control the vast majority of land in the valley. We can't really have this discussion without touching on that because unless that land gets sent over to the private sector, to the commercial side and the residential side, it doesn't matter how many deregulation pushes we do if you can't get that land to build on, and it's just not going to happen.
What Nick's describing is things that we can do with existing property and land, but we need more of that anyway. I mean, you've been writing about this for years now, and you and I have both been talking about this. We've got to get them to release more land. The BLM's got to give us the ability to do it, and it can't be such a process, just like they're trying to cut red tape in terms of the zoning and such.
Cut
red tape, give us some land.
It's still about 5 years from what I hear from developers from that land being turned over to someone walking into a new house. And that means if we get that land today, we can address our current demand now, not counting for anything that changes over the next 5 years.
Indeed. I mean, look, if we do ADUs, that's a helpful thing, but it's not going to solve the entire problem. It's one piece of the puzzle, perhaps. It will be helpful. And the fact that our population isn't growing as quickly maybe helps a little bit too. And look, the prices are a result of supply and demand. That's what they are. That's the rule. That's economics. That's just the first thing you learn. And so maybe we don't want to try to diminish demand, but we just want to increase supply. That's really what we want to do.
The other thing we have to take into account is the fact that the multifamily pipeline is essentially dried up. And when you have more rental spaces, it takes the pressure off the housing market, right?
True.
And if you look at the pipeline for multifamily for apartments in the valley, it's basically after this year, it completely shuts off. So that's going to be another pressure that's going to get thrown into the mix. So.
And you figure whenever rates come down enough and the capital costs come lower, they could potentially rebuild. That's still 18 months out from that hitting the market. So
well, we saw the delay with that because there was the financing boom during COVID, and then none of them came online till last year and this year. So there's going to be that lag, right? So even if we started rebuilding multifamily right now, there's going to be a 2-3 year lag to get those units on the market, right?
We have that same lag with single family as Sean McCoy had with some work we put out the Lead Center that you have to always keep building at like a high rate because eventually demand will outstrip you, and you just hope you have enough of that inventory built up.
This was basically the top story for a couple days
Yeah.
on the Las Vegas Review Journal. Sean McCoy, obviously.
I need the
Nick's-
mouse, Jasmine. Sorry.
Nick's colleague here did some great work on this.
Yeah, this
Really kind of breaks down like how we got ourselves into this problem, and everybody thinks, oh, it's COVID, but it's still 2008. Like
Yeah.
seriously dictating our housing market.
no
right?
doubt.
So I mean, it's funny. We go back all like he's looking back to the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And how they had this equilibrium of building, which was meeting the population demand. And then 2008 hits, and then everything just gets thrown in a blender, and we were never able to get back to that. I'm sure Nick can explain it a bit better, but
And you can think too about the fact that during this, before the boom really took off in 2003, 2004, the median sales price was about the same as the median household income in the
Yeah.
state. So it was
Right.
really affordable, and everyone still remembers it being so affordable in here because we had been building up so much. And
Yeah.
a lot of other factors go into it as well. But incomes have not kept up with house prices.
Yeah.
They're about, I think house prices have gone about 4 times.
Yeah.
Whereas incomes are about up 2 times what they were then, and
Indeed, and that's
that's a
the-
recipe for disaster.
Yeah, look, and we need look. I talk about this all the time. Also, what happens is you have institutional buyers coming in here too, and they're pushing prices as well. So what happens is they're interfering with the ability for individuals to buy homes, which is what we really want. That's what we really need. That's what I mean, and that's what I'm passionate about. The idea. I don't want to see Wall Street interfering with the ability for individuals to buy a home and grow their own personal wealth, because
Yeah.
that's kind of what's happening. We're seeing a lot of that now. It was very prevalent, and they were very helpful and useful during our housing crisis, and we needed them to step in then. And I know you can't tell them just go away now. We're good. I know you can't do that.
Yeah.
But we have to create incentives for individuals to be able to compete.